So we started our recording, and I have my beautiful guests here in Szeptem. You have no idea what does it mean. It's the podcast named Szeptem. In Italian, it's called sottovoce with the angelic voice. And I created this format in my head when I was a journalist student. And I realized it after like 25 years after. So we matured with this idea probably. And this is why I can have probably such beautiful guests in this podcast. So first of all, thank you for coming.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you guys can meet with this occasion my teachers, Sarbat and Satmukh. Who create together with other people the beautiful school of Kundalini Yoga and other teachings called Ajai Alai, and we are going to talk much more about the school and our programs for this and coming year. But today I asked the teachers to talk to us about shadow and inner child. So yes. First of all, the first question is so basic, but I think it can be so eye-opening for many people. What is human's shadow and why it is called shadow? Where is it?
Where is it?
Where is it, that shadow that we should do something with?
So, yes, shadow in opposite of light. So what is conscious is what is in the light of our consciousness. So we are aware of it. What is in the shadow, or what we call the shadow self, it's what is subconscious. That means I am not aware of it, even if it's operating in my life. And I can realize it because sometimes I have reactions or behaviors that I'm not completely in control of. And that most of the time creates a lot of conflict or discontinuity in my life. So it's like an underground program running without me being completely aware of it. And the purpose, one of the purpose of Kundalini Yoga is to go and visit this place, what we call the subconscious patterns and fear, because if we don't visit them and change this underneath program, whatever we do in spiritual life or in coaching or in self-development will be always hijacked by this shadow. So maybe a few words about how it is created. Unfortunately, we cannot not have a shadow. So nobody can say, oh no, for me, I don't have everything.
Oh, I want this to sound strong and clear. Everybody has the shadow. Yes. Yoga teachers.
Luckily, we have a shadow. We will come there.
All right.
And basically, when we are born, we are very much innocent and very much connected to where we come from. So there is a sense of wholeness. And we enter a constellation of people, a certain context of caregiver, usually the parents, the family. And there is a specific landscape, which is connected to the country you're born, the culture, the education of your parents, who they are, what are their shadows. And indeed, in this context, you realize unconsciously that a certain part of you are not so welcome, and other part of you are very much recognized. And because as a child, as a baby, and later on as a child, you depend on the relationship in order for you to survive. So it's really a matter of life and death to adapt to this relational context in order for you to have the food, to have the shelter, to be taken care of, to have the love, and to keep the connection and not experience a separation that would mean danger for your life at the nervous system level. So it's really on or off. It's in order to live, I need to adapt to this interaction, to these relations. And I realize unconsciously that if I express, for example, my anger, this is not so welcome. If I'm smiling, oh, I attract the attention of mama, or the opposite. If I'm angry, I attract the attention. So this subconscious program, in order to survive, will be very unique according to who we are, and also according to the family we land in. And these patterns, that will become personality, and that are multiple. It's not only one personality, that sometimes we call defense mechanism, because it's a way to protect myself from overwhelming emotion, which is what is created by the sense of separation. And it's also a way for me to survive in this environment. So in order to do that, we deny part of ourselves, we exaggerate other parts, and this is what we call the shadow. The shadow is the sum of all these sub-personalities that I had to develop in order to be able to make it. But this is totally unconscious, because when I'm a child, I'm not even conscious of who I am. So it is happening as a survival mechanism, because as human beings, we are social beings. We are relational beings. So in order to go through whatever context, I will have some adaptive behaviors, adaptive personality, and everybody will have that. Whatever the level of trauma, whatever the context, some people say, I don't have any problem, my family was great. Yeah.
I used to use that sentence too, to be honest. I was sure that my family was great, and it was great.
It was great. At the end, we all had the family we needed. But there is moment, of course, that as a child, our needs were not answered, we were not seen, we were rejected for whatever. And this was experienced as a threat. So we had to develop this mechanism. So this is why the shadow work is so important, because the subconscious is very fast. So if you end up as an adult in a situation that somehow triggered these wounds, or triggered this separation, this unconscious experience you had while you felt like, oh, maybe I will not survive if they don't see me, or I will not survive if this or that. When this is triggered as an adult, the subconscious will be very fast to react and to adapt and to bring you into a behavior that you used to have when you were a child, that you think is appropriate now because you feel a threat. But if you look at it objectively or neutrally, it's completely inappropriate because it's just your perception according to your memories that are not digested that will make you react. Seeing that person, somehow it resonates unconsciously with your father that was beating you up, and you see that man and he's a danger. And actually he's a really nice guy, but for you he's a danger. So yeah, that's why we insist on that in any spiritual practice, especially Kundalini Yoga.
Yes, I while Satmukh was speaking, I was thinking, how did we start? Because actually, Satmukh mentioned Kundalini Yoga. The purpose of Kundalini Yoga is to discover these parts. But actually, this is not how really Kundalini Yoga is broadly applied. This is, at least not in my experience, what I saw. I had really the big luck to be exposed to first teachers that were doing this work. But otherwise, what I have seen around is more than Kundalini Yoga, like a lot of other spiritual tools. So tools for the spirit, this is what I mean for spiritual tools, not for survival, but for the life of the spirit, so life itself, are used to hide the parts and look for the light, so look for the blessing. And sometimes there is a denial, especially with a practice like Kundalini Yoga, which is a Rajasic practice. It develops the ego. So there is this big potential of dressing white, putting a turban, looking blessed. And hello, oh, I meditate, I am out of it, I learned, I am completely in control. And this is how we can hijack ourselves and really create then challenges which we will face later on, or we will deny a lifelong, which has an impact on our life, but also on the life of others, because especially when we are teachers, what we teach is be strong, don't worry, do breath of fire, everything will be okay. And you do breath of fire and you believe it for a minute because it creates some kind of chemistry in the body that makes you feel more powerful, but it doesn't steer really the pot. And this mud, instead of being seen and cleared, remain inside. And the more we deny it, the more it has a weight on our behavior, the more it creates fear, because it's really like a stinking pot, you know, it gives a smell of something that it's not pleasant. And so I will again use more yoga, more spiritual practice, and I will deny even more in order to cover up that smell if I remain in the same symbolism. Yeah, it's like instead of removing your garbage, you will put on candles and incense at home. Well, yes, it's good incense and candle, but if you don't remove the coals, it just creates a strange smell. Yes, so. And when Satmukh was speaking, I was thinking, how did we start actually? So, because it's not what we really saw, but we start. And I remember that the first impulse was when we offered the Sunchild, which is a teacher training for learning yoga for children, Kundalini yoga for children. What we discovered is that the teacher, they put on a mask when they were dealing with children. So we always put on a mask, but with children it's so obvious. So children were coming we were doing that mainly in China. We had kindergarten group classes that were coming to the training for the students to learn how to deal with children. And they were completely changing. They were just being playful, wanting to be nice, wanting to connect, to be funny for the children. So you could see that really they were transmitting the opposite of what we thought would be necessary for the children, which is the message, be yourself.
Speaking weird voices, speaking weird little words with those kids. I can see that also. And people behave this weird way. Why do you treat this baby like a pet?
Yes, and up to a certain point is normal. If the children are very small, it's a little bit like an instinct to change voice and speak differently. That's okay. But there is a point where we saw they were not doing that for the children. They were doing that for themselves in order to be accepted by the children, in order to be liked by the children, and in order to feel young. If we lost this innocence, this playfulness, if we don't have a contact with the inner child, we are going to fake it when we are with children.
When you speak playfulness, I just see you doing Królik.
The bunny.
I will not explain it because maybe it's going to happen to more people, so I don't want to spoil the situation. But when you say
we have more. We have more of that silly things.
That's good.
Yes. Yes, and so we had the idea of changing that training. Basically, it started like, let's give Kundalini yoga for children, so some tools. And then a big part of that training became actually the work on the inner child and on the defense mechanism. And because it's like in any other sector of life, what you teach is yourself, what you have integrated and who you are. Otherwise, you put a veil, and what you teach is this kind of veil, but this is less useful in our belief. So we are not really connected to that. So it's good to teach, to give tools, to provide tools, but the main thing is to clear the system in order for us, when we are in contact with the students, to really allow them to empower them to be themselves, and not sell them another belief system, another tool, another hope because these are just hope when we don't have the capacity to look inside the part of us that we would like to deny, or that are hidden, or that we are not even aware of.
Yeah, and I think this is a very important part, because there is somehow misunderstanding or a kind of reduction of what is Kundalini Yoga, and we end up in this positive thinking or positive spirituality. Mm-hmm. That means you can make it. Yes, you can become that. Everything is possible. You know, you can be your... and being a teacher was part of it, you know? Being a teacher was the absolute. But if you do that by denying the part you don't want to see, actually you are reinforcing that part. Let's say that I have an anger issue because, I don't know, as a child, my father was very angry, very aggressive. I was the eldest child. The family had brother and sister. And for me to feel safe unconsciously, I had to make sure everybody else was okay, because my father was too intense. So I become the pleaser, the fixer, and what I deny within me is the urge to be angry. And I reach 45 years old, and this crisis will bring the anger back if I haven't done some self-reflection. And I realized that, oh my God, I'm angry about everything. But the tendency in a positive approach is, if we take Kundalini Yoga, is I realize that I have an anger within me. This is a problem. I need to fix my anger. So I will do a kriya for the anger in order to solve my anger. So what I'm telling myself is that the part of me that is super angry, that is the 5 years old or 7 years old self, that I had to deny because it was too much. It was not safe to express my anger because already my father was angry and it was bad for all my brother and sister. By doing this kriya on fixing my anger, I'm denying even more myself. I'm saying this part is a problem. So Kundalini Yoga is not about that. Kundalini Yoga is I do the kriya on anger in order to be in a relationship. Mm-hmm. Kundalini Yoga is relational. It's not a red pill you take and in order to be fixed. And this I realized maybe because of the way Yogi Bhajan brought it at that time and the way it was understood by the first generation. But you hear a lot about this is a yoga of excellence, this is a yoga of this, of that, you are the elected one. And then it brings the attention outside that there is a Satmukh that is the perfect version of myself. No. The perfect version of myself is if I include the part that wants to come to my consciousness and awareness. And like you say, Sarbat, why we don't want to do that? Because we have to go through the pain. Because what I could not welcome when I was 5 years old, because my nervous system was very underdeveloped, or 7 years old, I buried it. And for my mind today, I still see it with the eyes of the 7 years old. So it's like, I cannot go there. This is too much. Because I buried it because it was too much. And if I stay in the mind, this will be too much forever. So the key is to go in the body. It has to be somatic. It has to be related to the sensations, the feeling, the emotion. And Kundalini Yoga is an invitation for that. It's an invitation to be with the physical bodies and to take certain kriya, a certain geometry, that will somehow trigger or give me access to these memories. So it's an invitation to be in a relationship. It's not an invitation to become a better me, because there will never be a better me. It will just be a positive. So I will go in the positive, in the positive, in the positive, and I will deny one polarity. And there are so much resources there, because in order to develop this self-defense mechanism, I use my qualities. Mm. And in order to deny this part of me that seems to be the hot potatoes that I don't want to touch, I use a lot of prana. So it's costly in prana, in energy and vitality, to hide and to keep this part in the shadow. And plus, my qualities are somehow used for the wrong reason, because I'm not 7 years old anymore.
You wrote a beautiful email about this, Satmukh, recently. I will link that email here because it resonated so much with me. You described your path of a teacher also, and the struggle with this topic, basically, with being you and being in this personality of a teacher surrounded by all, students looking at you like God. Mm-hmm. It's a struggle. But then when you've been talking about this shadow work for teachers, especially Kundalini yoga teachers, I thought that nowadays when we have this crisis of couples, crisis of families, crisis of relations, and so many people who feel super lonely basically in this world, it looks like a basic work for everybody, for each person who wants to relate in a mature way. Yes. So it's maybe something what our kids will be taught in their high school in the future. Let's hope. In our school, we can teach it already. I mean, thanks to you and your programs, we can also experience that deeply in October. So I think it's for everybody, seriously for everybody. Yes, with experience, no experience, it's like come in and just dive into yourself.
Yes. And it is not really to go and look for the problem, because there is no problem. There is just this idea that we have that there are certain emotions that are accepted and other that are not accepted. So, for example, if I am sad, rather than leaving my sadness, I will try to repair it. There's nothing to repair in sadness. Sadness is it's a blessed emotion. When you spend a day in sadness, you have more idea and more integration than when you spend a day in joy. So it's really just the difference, like a sunny day or a rainy day. There's nothing bad about it. It's just that another energy is there. But we learned that there is something wrong with it. If I am sad, something is wrong in my life. I need to fix it. And so we keep on denying this part. So it's not that we are looking for the problem. We are looking for accepting all emotions. It's like yoga, it's an experience of life itself in all his facets at every age. So there is not a phase of life which is better. There is not a condition which is better. Ultimately, there is not even a state of health which is better than another. If we look from, it's a delicate subject, but I really want to put it also there, because ultimately yoga is union in everything. Mm-hmm. So at the level where we teach, for us, it's important to upgrade, to help people upgrade their life, not by becoming a better person, but by accepting more part of themselves and accepting that what they are, it's perfect the way it is. And I mentioned before, it's a blessing. The shadow is a blessing, because there are a lot of gift hidden in that state. When you have less than positive emotions, there is, when you really, like, if you touch the bottom of the ocean, imagine a depression where you really go deep and deep and deep. You go also profoundly in yourself and in your existence. So there you touch spheres and places that are not reachable when you just see the light, because light is also blending, is also, it's it's a lot. So what you see is the light, but you forget to see the details. So there is all this part of the human which is a gift. It's fantastic, but when we try to hide it, it becomes really toxic, and it, like Satmukh said, consumes a lot of prana. And in order to create this defense mechanism, we use our qualities. And so this is why it's also very difficult to do this shadow work in an honest way, because when we touch it, we are afraid to lose also the qualities. Imagine I had, for example, it's like Satmukh said, is an example, is not our real life, but it's good to make examples that are clear for everybody. Like you, I thought I had a perfect family, so I don't have a big trauma to tell, but a lot of little ones. So I'm taking an example which is more visible. Imagine that I have two parents that fight all the time. They are violent to each other. And as a child, I really feel a risk for my own survival. Maybe I'm hungry in this moment and I cannot speak because nobody listened to me. I'm not seen. So I really feel for my survival. And instinctively, I enter the room and I do something, maybe funny, that I don't even know it's funny because I'm an innocent child. And my parents suddenly look at me and laugh. Suddenly I resolve the crisis. And so if I have some talent to be funny, because maybe that's why I said something funny, because there is also a quality that I have around that, I will accentuate, I will exaggerate that quality, because I realize that whenever there is a conflict or whenever there is a tension, I make people laugh and the tension is gone. So maybe I will grow up becoming someone that, I don't know, an actor, making things funny, or a theater, or something like this. Or just in my social environment, I'm always the one who makes people laugh. And so it's a quality. People likes me for that. The day I discover that it covers a big sadness and a fear of survival, and it covers the pain of seeing conflict in my parents every day, it would be very difficult without a support to acknowledge that and say, but what do I do now? Because this is also what in life helps me and what shows others who I am. So the shadow work, it's not only to include, to put the light on the parts that are hidden, but is also to empower the adult part in us to take ownership of our qualities that are otherwise used by a defense mechanism, and which cost a lot of prana.
So then later on, I can still be funny, but in this adult, mature,
Yes.
moderate way. Yes, I don't have to just jump with jokes all around tables at every party. Yes.
Yes, and maybe not every time,
Mm-hmm.
because it becomes a role.
Yeah.
It becomes something that I must do.
Mm-hmm.
And even being funny, if it's a thing that you must do, it's not always pleasant for the person doing it. There are a lot of actors that actually were very sad inside, but they make us laugh for years. There are many examples of that.
At each the day of depression, International Depression Day, there is the same meme of like 12 or more faces of comedy actors who died for depression, and they made us laugh, and that's funny mechanism, because that stops people for this one breath of reflection, and then they move forward with their life. But then that is applicable to each of us. If we don't touch the shadow part of us, that we can just understand that it's in everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, because for example, if we are on the joke or the one who make fun, that person will never be nourished by it if it's a survival reaction. So actually, that's the problem with these sub-personalities, whatever it is. It's like, whatever you will gain from that, you will never be satisfied and completely nourished, because a part of you knows that it is not you, and it is a strategy. So like you said before, it's for everybody, because we go through this wholeness, oneness, and we somehow fragment ourselves into different personalities. And there is an unconscious push from the soul, or whatever you call it, to find back the unity. And this will happen if you do Kundalini Yoga or whatever spiritual practice or not, this will happen. But the problem is if you are not proactive, if you don't know how to establish a relationship with yourself, to listen what is happening within your body at the level of the sensation, emotion, and so on, you will attract a person and situation, because these wounds are relational. So it will happen in your relation, because you mentioned couple and children, yes. We mentioned the children. So in the intimate relationship, where there is safety, belonging, this topic that are alive, all this emotion will happen completely unconsciously and will create misery, because you know, in a couple, if she says something and I'm hurt because this resonates with the story, and I overreact, and then she overreacts, and then we don't even know after 2 days why we are not talking to each other, because it has nothing to do with the situation. So if we want to solve the situation by looking at the situation but not including our wounds, or wounded child reactions, or self-defense mechanism, we have a miserable life with a lot of drama, and where it's hard to be really nourished by life, because we are so many times caught by this survival reaction that we end up surviving and not living and not being nourished by this opportunity of experience that is life.
Yeah, and also it's a priority for the system to the subconscious and all the memories that are stored there. It's what we really react to. So we can consciously decide on a behavior or on a relation, how I want it, or on a daily behavior. I will be like this, I will do that. And then the subconscious take over. So this has always the priority. So we will not end up by following what the conscious self says, because the survival is the basic instinct. So this program of the subconscious will always have the priority on everything else.
You also add to your retreats a beautiful practice of a very delicate and soft somatic exercises, let's say. And I found it so deep but so simple. So it's
Yes.
and sometimes you know, when we take, for example, low-end exercises, there is lots of strapping towers and many things happen there. Yes, there is lots of good things that are happening to the people, and plenty of findings for them. But I felt a little discomfort doing that type of somatic work, while with you there is this super soft music in the back playing, and you just walk and you start feeling, and then you say, feel your right part, feel your left part, and then you guide people. I can't even repeat it. I tried at the first retreat, I tried to sign in my notebook and be so smart and try it with my students, and then I felt no, it's impossible to remember, because I feel like in different state of mind when I'm doing this with you. Can you talk a little bit how do you work, and what is this add-on like to your retreats as somatic practice?
Yeah, I will let Satmukh answer that more complex and more technically, but I wanted to say something before to you, just in answer of what you just said about trying to note it and to memorize it. It's for me, it's a way to come back to the simplicity, really, even the simplicity of when we were babies or even a fetus in the water, just with a soft touch around us. Life is very simple. I didn't even need to breathe in the womb, right? I was just fed. So for me, it's coming back to simplicity. So when you teach this somatic movement, rather than remembering your experience or looking on the paper, because this immediately brings you in the mental space, be in your body and just feel it. Maybe you just touch your hands. Just touch your hands, or, you know, just touch each one of your finger while you talk, and you just say what comes. You're very connected to your body, just very, very simple, because I'm really convinced that today we need to come back to that simplicity. because the world all escalated in the mind. There is less and less physical activity, and if they exist, they are also controlled. Like I walk with the stick, I walk for a marathon, I go to the gym and I walk on a cycle, but it's not anymore feeling the body. It's just trying to make it better again, yeah, or keeping a condition to avoid health problems. So we or keeping young. We always have a second intention, but really to be just there. This is why the somatic works so well. When you just put a little music and you just are there. And it's and we are so much in need that we don't even get bored with that. I am sure that a few years ago, if we had offered that, some people say, "Oh, nothing is happening."
Yeah.
Something. Today, we are all so much in need. If I am with someone and I can be intimate enough to maybe just put a hand behind the neck, it's so relaxing. What else do I want more? This is like I was held as a baby, when you hold the head on the baby here. It's just you give your weight. So try next time that you teach to be in that space, not knowing which word you say next, and then let me know if it works.
I will. I love to make those little experiments because and as you said, I find it in my practice, easier it is, simpler it is, better it is. I found out recently that the basic kriyas that we do at our studio, flexibility of the spine kriya,
Yes.
it gives so much to the people, much more than all this woo-woo around, going into 12 dimension.
Yeah, because it can be distracting, exactly.
Yeah, and also there is a lot in what we are saying now, but in this somatic movement that I would call also Soma Yoga, it's we are also touching the essence of yoga, which is listening. I mean, the way this yogi or rishi discovered the kriya and the meditation is because first they let the universe, the seasons, the mountain, the rock resonate within them. So just by walking, for example, and you connect to the weight of your feet, you are connecting to the earth element, to the gravity, to the apana. Suddenly, through just walking consciously, sensing what is happening in your feet, you are discovering what the rishi discovered in their deep meditation. So that's why we like this approach, because somehow through Kundalini Yoga and the multiplicity of kriyas and meditation and also mantras and so on, it can become a distraction. And it can become, like we say, an outside form that will fix me forever. So whatever I have, I will do this and it will fix me. But the essence of the Kriya is an invitation, a certain, I would say, you go in a certain landscape in order to be in relation. Like, it's different if you're in the middle of the forest or if you're in the middle of a restaurant. The relationship to yourself, what you discover about yourself is different. And this is what is Kundalini Yoga. It's Kriya and meditation that will create a certain landscape in order for you to listen to part that will not be accessible if you wouldn't be in that certain landscape, which is the arms this and chanting that. And the problem with the ooh, because somatic also, it's a lot used for that, releasing. For me, there is no releasing. This is another topic. But if you go into too much, the question is, am I listening to what is happening? Because the too much resonates with the trauma, which was me as a child being overwhelmed. And it's not only overwhelmed by negativity. It's overwhelmed because the experience is overwhelming. For example, the anger, the violence of my father is overwhelming. If I go into a spiritual experience, a rebirth where there is boom, 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 ha, ha, ha. And I don't have the stability of my nervous system to include all this information. I am in the too much. And for my subconscious, there is no good too much and bad too much. There is only too much. So actually what I will do, and this is what happened for most of the people, I will need to dissociate in order to go with the spiritual aha, hoo, but that means there is nobody home to integrate what is happening. And this is why people, after such workshop or such training, they take weeks to recover, weeks to integrate this experience into what do I do with it in my life. And this is the way I learned Kundalini Yoga, with woo-woo, haha. And believe me, I had to meditate for weeks after each module because...
But it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And, you know, sometimes I was like, oh yeah, that was the good time. But the good time. But what did I learn from that? How did it help me? It helped me because I was without job and I was meditating all the time. But for people who have a family, children, and go back to their office on Monday, this kind of workshop is inappropriate. It's not helping. It creates more stress and more subconscious reaction. So this is why the somatic, which is for me more the Soma Yoga, which is like a branch of Kundalini Yoga, like not what most of the people took from Kundalini Yoga, but when you see in Satnam Rasayan, we are a lot into the listening and not looking for the wah wah hoo effect. It's just listening, shunya, and so on. And this, for us, this is the core of the teaching of Kundalini Yoga. In Satnam Rasayan, you meditate, there is no explanation, nothing. It's really like, I would say, dry meditative practice, beautiful. I love this practice. What we do in the training is we bring this quality of shunya, the quality of the meditative mind, while also bringing the Western psychology to also understand what are these different parts, why I'm made from these different parts, how is it related to my relationship to my mother, how is it related to the conflict I have with my teenager. So we also, because this is also who we are, and same with Fateh, we also believe that in certain contexts, it's good to put words, to have certain explanation, and to put that in perspective with certain practice for the student participant to realize, okay, when I'm in that state of mind, or when my nervous system is dissociating or freaking out, if I do this practice, actually I can come back to my center and I can approach what is happening differently and take the responsibility of this shadow that is bubbling up. And instead of projecting it on my wife, I will use that as an opportunity, because then I see the blessing. Why? You are triggering me. This situation triggers me. That means I have something to learn about myself. And it doesn't mean that I cannot put boundaries, because it's also to recognize that situations are too much. So I can put boundaries and say no. But it's realizing, like you said before, there is a blessing in being triggered, in being reactive, if I'm able to contain it and observe it. Otherwise, it's a long-term circumstances to digest, and it becomes tiring.
Yeah, and I was thinking that some years ago, it was still possible to avoid that work, because we were rooted in very fixed container or boxes, like belief system or groups or community or the family system. So with all their drawbacks, there were also the benefit that they were containing us. And today, all that there doesn't exist. Not even our identity, not even our gender identity, or nothing is fixed. And so the space is completely open. And that's why this shadow work today becomes completely necessary, because you cannot even contain it by a system or a belief or a society. There's nothing that contain it anymore. So people are can really then go crazy with that. What do I do with this? Today we speak about it. Before there were reaction more or less subtle and causing more or less conflicts, or maybe someone was hurt, but because I'm a polite person and I belong to a family where things, are not said, so I keep it for me. But today, everybody is vomiting on everyone else, all what we are. And if there is no container, which it's a blessing on a way, but we have also to canalize, to channel this blessing in something that has a consistency. Otherwise, it's like a big limitation creates damage, but an endless freedom, it's a big stress for the nervous system.
When I listen to you, I thought of my path through my shadow, and where I met myself down there in my mud. And I remember I've been thinking during that work that it was so comfortable to have authorities. It was so easy to leave when somebody was telling me, you go right and then left, and then buy this, and this is fancy, and this is not, like black and white world. But then at each part of this kind of work, I come out with so much more strength to contain even simple operations like buying something online now. When you want to buy anything, there is like 100 objects coming out, and how should I decide? And all the authorities of this world are saying this is better or this is better. And I know from my friends and our students that they feel that being lost in the simplest situations in their life, like buying something, a tea online. Which tea should I buy? So having this Aquarian age coming up and developing, and having all those authorities fading, basically, we understand that it's the only way to find the authority inside. And then when you find at least a little bit, it's so much satisfaction.
Yes, exactly.
Because then many things from down there. Somehow, like there is this adult Anna saying, just buy this and move forward and just leave the dilemma.
And it might be a mistake, but also when things are said from the outside, they can be mistakes. And at least you take responsibility for that, and you use it as an extra opportunity to grow and to expand your field of experience. And to, without that today, and who do you listen to? I was thinking about that today. I was looking some post in Instagram, and I've seen people that I don't know. I don't even know what they did in their life, but they are so convincing because everybody talks today knowing something. And I said, well, how do I believe or not? Coming back to the somatic. This is, Yogi Bhajan warned us about that 40 years ago. He said, there will be so much information. You don't need knowledge. You don't need to know. You need how to sort out information. Because when you will ask a question and you will have millions of answers, you have to know which answer you want and which answer fits you in this moment. Otherwise, you get lost in that. So I was thinking about that today, looking at this video. Everybody looks so convincing. But if I don't have an anchor in myself and a feeling in my body that tells me, I like that, then it will just the mind. I will look for someone who looks maybe, this is an authority, or this is a study, so I have to believe it, or I will believe everything I hear. This is also a big problem. Just because it's said online in the virtual world, it's a fact. And then I'm going to say, I heard this, and it's the truth, which is not at all the truth. Is someone else just saying her own experience? So without that listening, that inclusion, that integration, we are basically lost. That's why this work is so important today, to look at all the parts of me, also the one that say, why now I'm hearing that and it triggers me? What is the part of me that doesn't like it? Why I don't like it? Does it belong to the other person or does it belong to me? Because today we are there exposed to everybody and everything. There is no limit in communication, there is no limit at all. So if in a relation or in a communication, I am not aware what belongs to me and what belongs to the other, I'm going to be lost in everyone else. And this is why also the nervous systems of many today are weakening, because they are exposed to too much information. And as you said, we don't know what to choose and how to choose.
There is,
Yeah.
sorry, Satmukh, please
Yeah,
continue.
just connected to that, because what you brought is very simple thing, you know, it's like, what do I need to buy online? And the thing is, if we don't address the shadow, this part of ourselves are connected to really like a young age. You know, usually it's around 5 years old, this hook of this personality, earlier, a little bit after. So if I don't look at them, my reference is still Papa, Mama. So consciously, I'm like, I'm 50 years old, I'm independent, and I make my own choice. But what is alive within me is Mama love me, Papa recognize me. And this, because I'm 50 years old, I cannot go to my mother and my father to do that. So I will find it outside. I will project it outside. So, and then when I'm facing myself in front of a computer to buy whatever online, I cannot choose because I haven't built my self-reference, because I don't recognize that part of me are still entangled with the reference of Papa, Mama. So this is why if you try to build your self-authority, but this doesn't work. You need to recognize that, yeah, part of me are still missing Mama, are still looking for the eyes of Papa, and that's fine. And they will never go away. Because this we never change. We never get rid of these wounds. They stay forever. But do we nourish the patterns that compensated these wounds? This is a different story. We have the choice. You know, it's like the train on the track. We can choose, no, I want the train to go there or again in that direction. And we need to fail many times before we are able to have enough energy. Because basically, what do? We start to identify the pattern, and then we start to develop the capacity to say no. No, I don't go there. Therefore, I don't put energy into it. And if I stop to put energy, it's like a plant. If you stop to water it, to give some fertilizer, slowly it dies or it becomes smaller. And this is what we do with this work. You cannot get rid of it, but you can develop the capacity to discern and to choose not to nourish it anymore. And that changed your life tremendously. And this is self-authority. I choose where I put my energy. So I choose what I buy. My energy is my money. I know what to buy. So you end up with people that look very mature with wrinkles and white beard, and they have no clue about their own self, because they are still completely unconsciously dependent on the reference, which is Papa, Mama, which is not even the real Papa, Mama, is the fantasies they built within themselves in order to justify who they are and the part they ignore. So the whole thing about blaming Papa, Mama or forgiving them, this is nonsense. This is nonsense. You don't need to forgive you. The Papa, Mama you have in your mind to justify who you are today never existed. Never existed. Because if you ask your brother who had almost the same age what happened at that moment when you were traumatized, it's a completely different
story.
If you ask your mother, it's another one. So you're like, oh my God, it's your reality. It's your inner world. Nothing is responsible for.
At the end, is all our internal experience that counts, yes? From the beginning to the end. So it looks like we can just shape our internal experience in a smart way and in a conscious way by choosing, what do I choose today, for this evening, for this morning? And when we speak about advantages of this work, I felt in my body less tension. More and more I work on this part, because it's I don't know if there is an end. Maybe you can promise me some end, but for now my perception is still I breathe. I have some shadow work to do, because this is my feeling for now. So after first, second, third retreat, some therapies, I just felt how my body can relax easier and deeper. And I discovered in myself on my way, and I think, and I ask you for your experience, that it's a common experience when people come to yoga, to somatic experience, and they feel like, I thought I used to be relaxed, but now I feel like I was like an Iron Lady armed for the battle. Yes. So if we want to go this path of advantages for everybody, for every person in their everyday life from this work, for me, it was less reactiveness, much more capacity to relax. Can you add your perspective to that?
Because for me, this happens because the fight stopped, the fight with yourself to keep this, before I said there is a pot, like imagine a boiling pot, and you put a lid in order for that not to overflow. And there is a big part of prana, what Satmukh said, that it's needed to keep this pot down. So there is a lot of fight with myself in order to keep that down and not have it overflow, so that nobody sees it. And so I can do whatever I do, it feeds that attitude. This is why many spiritual practice do not work. The practice are all good. The Kundalini yoga is fantastic. There are others that are very good, but they don't work because they help me to accentuate, to underline my patterns. So with the increased strength and stamina that I get from the practice, I will use it more strength and stamina to keep this lead. And so it's a vicious circle. That's why this work is indispensable. I have at a certain moment to give the hand off and let it, that here, oh, okay, it's boiling. And after the first things of past garbage that it's coming out that is unpleasant, and this, I really would like to underline it, it will never stop boiling. That's not even the purpose. So you said, I have to do some shadow work. Well, me too. We all have to. It will be an illusion to say, oh, I did my work. Now I'm here, I can teach it. This is a very dangerous place to be when you think you are reached somewhere where you just need to teach it to others because you are ready. What is this? This doesn't happen. If we are alive, it means we still have something to learn. It's impossible because the ego and the shadow renew every day. They come again up. It's an indispensable part. It's a necessary part for us to live in this polarity. So we will not get rid of it, but we can get rid of the reaction to it. This is the relaxation. This is why you feel relaxation, because suddenly I'm here. Oh yeah, I see fear coming. Oh yeah, I feel, oh yeah, what is this this discussion we are having today with Anna? Will it be good or not? And what if I don't know the answer? Yeah, keep on boiling. It's part of me. I don't need to hide it. I just need to accept it. I mean, how I could be in order not to have weaknesses that keep on telling me, are you okay? Is that the right day? Are you not tired? Are you not sad? Is really everything good in your life? I mean, of course, I just let it boil and without lid. And this is what it is. It's to accept that the shadow work is ongoing. And after this first boom, this first earthquake, because when you remove the lid, the past comes, then it keeps on boiling very slowly. This is the only guarantee. This is the easiness that you explained. You are more relaxed because I accept it. Yes? And when you accept it in you, you accept it in others. I do not need to project the perfect husband in Satmukh. So I love him. And when there is something that it's less than loving, I still love him, because what the hell? You see? But otherwise, if I keep this lid on my own pot boiling, when the others show me parts that, oh, your pot is boiling, no, I immediately, because I don't want to see mine, so I see yours.
Yeah.
And I keep on projecting things on the relationship which I don't want to see in myself. So I pretend that the other should be perfect because I cannot be. So when you give up this idea of perfection and you say, yeah, it's perfect the way it is, every day, tomorrow morning, I don't know if I will wake up sad or happy, that's fine. But you know, if I wake up sad and I say, my God, with all this meditation, I'm still sad, what's wrong with me? This is a terrible place to be.
That's true.
Yeah. So this is basically the shadow work, is to have many masks. And if today I'm sad or sick and I don't want, and there is this day where I don't feel myself, but I have to be here, for example, with you or someone else or teaching, I take my mask and I put it on. I put it on for others as it's dignifying. It's not to cover who I am. It's just that I cannot come here in pajama with the hair like this and say, today it sucks, because this is not inspiring. So I committed to a teaching, or I committed to give something, to deliver something. So I take the right mask. And if it's a blessed day when I'm happy and I did no mask, even better. This is the choice we have. This is, for me, the only choice we have.
Oh yeah, the only one. That's my feeling too.
And this is relaxing.
This is the this is the work we will do in October. It's really mapping ourselves, so also using the mind to understand how these different paths work and how they interact to each other, and then bringing the awareness of what is boiling and realizing that by removing the lead, actually, it's not so dramatic.
Yeah.
If I'm there to welcome the information, I will digest what I need to digest. And what we reconnect back is the, because we call it the inner child, is the innocence and the wholeness. So it's the fact that it doesn't matter. Sometimes I screw up, sometimes I don't say the right thing. You know, the child, they move on, they are flexible. So this is what we recover, and they are more relaxed because they are okay with themselves. They don't have this yet self-judgment and expectation. So this deep relaxation also, it's comes from the recognizing that, okay, I'm multiple, and that's fine. What is important is that these multiple parts communicate with each other. So if I recognize the part, like Sarbat said, that maybe this part is tired, not motivated to do the video, wants to stay in bed, I recognize that part of me needs to rest. But I also give a chance to the other part, that there is another part that wants to honor my commitment, is always inspired to be in a discussion. So it gives me, because putting a mask, for me, it's not even putting a mask, it's making the conscious choice of, okay, now I will honor this part.
Yes.
And I go for it. But there is no denial. First, I acknowledge that, yeah, even if it's a great invitation, and it can be anything, even if it looks great but there are parts of me that are resisting, and that's fine. They just need to be acknowledged. And sometimes you just need to acknowledge them, because recognizing through the light of the consciousness, this part is enough. You don't even need to go and sleep for 2 hours. This is what we mean when we talk about the guru. And this is why, even if we are in an Aquarian age, we need the guru, because the guru is also the representation of this process from gu, the cave, the darkness, to ru, to the light of the consciousness. And sometimes you can do the work by yourself, but there are moments you need someone to co-regulate what is happening, because it's too much. So this is why we need support, because sometimes it is just too much. And in relationship with someone who is listening, and this can happen in an intimate relationship, that if she's really listening to what I put into words and she receives it without reacting, it gives me the space to somehow go deeper into this part that I'm resisting. So this is the guru. It's an inner process, but it's also in the relationship. She can be my guru or a teacher, not a guru as we imagine, but in terms of facilitating this revealing of who I am.
It's very interesting. Just one thing, what you said about this self-therapy, auto-therapy, that you can get to a certain point and you will not surpass it. And I was the one doing that. So after my first therapy, I just realized that, yeah, okay, I'm a smart girl. So I understand all the dynamics from psychology. So I will just look into myself. And I was laughing after, like a couple of months later, of myself, because you can lie to yourself till the end of your days. Because when I was approaching this, the shadow approaching, this trauma approaching, what should be touched, I was drifting from that, saying, okay, there's nothing, I'm okay. And that's why I'm absolutely convinced now that even if you feel strong, if you feel super smart, I'm talking about myself, even if you feel super smart or super agile in working with psychological dynamics and you can recite Jung from the morning to evening, then on yourself, you need somebody who you can trust and who can co-regulate you with the nervous system larger than yourself, because then it's like renting your nervous system to myself and using that for my own work, and it will not happen otherwise. I don't believe in autotherapy from that moment when I lied to myself for many years.
And it's really like this, there are really magnetic fields that needs to communicate with each other for healing. And of course, I could, for example, do that alone, and I am able to do that alone. But when I receive it from others, this is healing. There is a certain support. And I don't know why it reminds me, it has less to do with that, but it's the same concept. Some days ago, we were with a student who said, I'm a single mother. I can do everything for my child. I don't need a father, because when it's a masculine energy, I can also use masculine energy for my child. So I can do both. And Satmukh was there alone in this moment with her. So he answered, and then he told me that, and he said, but you know, I answered her that and that. And in this moment, I was in my computer looking at some courses and so on. And there is a picture, very kitschig, we say in German. So really a cheap picture with a mother all happy with the child, and all happy like this. But behind there was a man, and she was leaning on that man. And so the picture had nothing really very inspiring. It was really one of these things, you know, a very classic. But I said, well, that's the reason. That's the reason you cannot be the single mother for your child, because it has nothing now to do with the polarity, masculine, feminine. It has really for me to do with magnetic fields. Sometimes we are supporting a field, and there must be another field supporting us. And this is what I saw from this picture. I saw the mother 100% there for the baby, but then she could be 100% that for the baby because someone was there 100% for her. This is also what spirituality can do to us when we can lean back on a divine self, on a faith, or call it the way you want, but a religion, whatever it is, but something that bigger where we can lean on. So with human being, it's very nice sometimes, even if you can do things on your own, to ask the help of the other so that you can be included in that. And this is extremely healing. So this is another problem we have in the society. We think, no, I have to be strong, I have to do it myself. And if I ask for help, especially with men, women, that's terrible now. No, if I am a woman, I cannot ask the help of a man. I need to prove myself. But why not? Why not? Yes, it's a decision. So it's a very interesting subject.
Very, and we are going to go deeper and deeper into this topic in October. I will link our retreat down here under this video. And for everybody, for each of you who speaks English, we also invite English-speaking students of Ajai Alai Awakening School. There is plenty of space in a beautiful piece of nature in Poland. So I feel we are going to be retreated for this. And I wanted to say not easy work, because I have this part that connects shadow work to this, what in mainstream we say, meet your demons, we meet your beast inside you. And then I didn't find so many frightening things inside me, rather little sad Annas crying.
For me, what makes the work difficult what makes the work difficult is the resistance that we have. So I hope that, if people that are there can trust the process, can trust themselves, can trust the group, this is can trust us. This is a blessing, because the only fight is with self-resistances. There is no monster in the closet, but if we insist of keeping it closed, we imagine terrible things behind it.
So true.
Yeah, and with the trust also there is a condition that is the safety. So this is also what we cultivate in our training, is you first need to feel safe in order to go into these places.
Yes.
And when you feel safe, your nervous system can relax. So the Soma Yoga helps a lot for that, to actually, it's a safe environment. The people that are on me, these teachers. So it's very important to dare to go there first, to have this sense of safety, which is the opposite of going straight to the boom boom and yeah. And even if you have the impression, wow, something happened, but actually the condition were not there for you to integrate that experience. So yeah, there are resistances, and it's a deep work. But at the same time, we structure it for it to be digestible and to be useful, because what we want is not to give you a high experience. It's for you to go back home and be more aware about how this shadow is projecting on your children, on your partners, in your work, in all your intimate relationship, in order for you to be more yourself and to allow others to be who they are.
And that's happening. I think that this idea that you have, it's happening. I heard from many of the members of our Sangat here in Poland, but also my experiences, like landing in my body in a new way. It's like inhabiting this. But I started to be seriously in love with myself after our last retreat, which is
I was going to say exactly that. It works. If I remember always this sentence, it was told to me the second day of my Kundalini yoga practice. Kundalini yoga is about falling in love with yourself.
You see, that works.
That works.
After some years, though, but still, patient to wait for this.
It's happening. It's happening.
Yes. Do you want to say anything to end our conversation? Anything else we should mention about this October training, shadow work? We can speak for hours, of course, about it, but
just thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, I have a lot of gratitude for that. It was very nice to spend this time with you, and
Thank
very
you.
Nice.
It's always beautiful to spend time with you. So I will organize more and more of these conversations online if you allow me. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. Satnam, and people come in October. You will not regret. I'm telling you.